Before we get back into the gameplay proper, I would like to take a moment to have a look at what the DLC gave us. If you go into options after you've unlocked the different costumes, you'll see that you have a wardrobe function. And whichever one you have, you can go ahead and set it. It has to be done from the main menu, and you can only select a full party wardrobe. You can't mix and match, can't do anything like that. Once you do, you can just load your game, and you will have the pleasure of seeing your party in new, wacky outfits. As soon as I remember where my save file is. There we go. New wacky outfits. This is Kabuki Nier. He looks ridiculous. I guess I'm just used to seeing him showing off his manly chest all the time. But, yeah, there you go. I would like to mention that the costuming also comes with a couple of different features, alongside just changing the models. The first of which is that you get different loading buddies depending on what you're wearing. Kabuki comes with Emil. The other one comes with Kaine. It's kind of nice if you somehow get sick of Yona waving at you. Anyway, these are also our party members. Kaine, who is somehow wearing even less than usual, and yet it makes more sense. She just had a haircut and a dye job. And Emil, who has decided to take out his festive shower curtain for the occasion. And a different staff. Kaine also happens to be wielding dual axes at the moment, but we're not going to be fighting anything, so you won't get to see that yet. You won't get to see much of this wardrobe, because we are not headed to the junk heap right now. I've decided to collate all of that into one video. Instead, we're just going to get the Forest of Myth out of the way. Now, someone might be asking, does anything happen at the Forest of Myth? Is anything different? It's not. It's not. It is the exact same story that we saw last time. It inevitably makes a little more sense, given the context of, well, number one, finishing the game, and number two, some of the backstory that I've been feeding out.
This is the
so
village
you can have
from
some
the
fun
dream.
reading through that and
Yeah.
figuring out
Truly
what
a
everything means.
nightmare I hope
Or you
never
can
to
listen to me,
experience again.
because I'm going to try
I
and
hear
explain
you.
this thing.
Ah!
So the deal with this tree is that it's not exactly a tree. Certainly not in a biological, natural sense. The tree is actually a control program for Project Gestalt, referred to by its code name Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty's main prerogative was to gather information about the world as it continued. That's what the memories are. That's why it talks about being able to reach out, why it collects the memories of mankind, why it's happy about it, in a way. The entire purpose of Sleeping Beauty was to collect all the memories and hold them in one place, so that knowledge could be basically reformed as necessary. It's also the thing, at least in the Tokyo Bay district, that holds most of the replicant data. This tree, this program, is actually the thing that's integral in recreating replicants. Its history goes back a long, long time, obviously, back to the apocalypse, basically. Back to when Project Gestalt was first being conceived, I would assume. The three memories, well, two memories technically, that it shows are obviously references to back then, meant to confuse you the first time you come here. But after you've been here for the second time, you might be able to make a couple of assumptions. This one, for instance, is about a boy who came down with white chlorination syndrome. It distinctly references the fact that his skin is paler than the bleached blankets. And it also references the fact that he has these strange dark emotions. The presence of the Mother Grotesquerie, and her consciousness trying to subsume his. He doesn't give in. He's not one of the special people who can transform into a Legion soldier, which is probably for the best. Although the whole turning into salt and dying is not for the best. This also has one of the most marvelous endings to a little story. She disappeared, and then he died. The end. This second memory concerns the Crusades that occurred against Legion during the 20-teens, basically. What happened was one of the organizations from way, way back in the day, the Hamlin organization, was one of the forefront. I can't really say armies because they weren't supposed to be an army. But what they did was they gathered people, generally children, or at least teenagers. At some point, I think they did at least begin with adults. Gave them an experimental drug called luciferase to try and fight off the white chlorination syndrome, and sent them off to fight big, giant salt monsters. As you can see here, they did not do very well. But this is a quick story about the original fights against Legion, and how they were perhaps not the most successful things in the world. And of course, this third memory that the tree doesn't have any longer is, needless to say, the most integral. It was about when Angelus and Kaim managed to break the dimensional barrier and throw themselves and the Mother Grotesquerie into Tokyo, and that was what set off the whole end of the world thing to begin with. Anyway, the tree has been collecting these memories from across human history since, basically, the dragon fell from the heavens. And, it's been holding them for, again, later purposes, for humanity to come back at a later date and collect this knowledge that's been stored up for a long time. It might have also been, although, this isn't really stated anywhere, it seems to me that it might have been here to give the Gestalts all the knowledge of what they had missed. The shades were kept in stasis for about, I believe, 800 to 900 years before they were finally allowed back into the world at large, only to find that, the replicants were sentient and had civilization, and nobody was very happy after that happened. So chances are good that the tree was collecting some of these memories to at least be redistributed to let the original humans know what had happened during their time spent asleep. Now, I did say last time we were here that I'm not 100% certain what is going on. I know the deal with Sleeping Beauty, basically. Still not sure what's up with this shade. The way this is written makes it sound like the shade is actually the consciousness of the tree, or something kind of like that, except it's not. And I don't mean that to sound like a question. I mean it's pretty unequivocally not actually the consciousness of the tree. The shade, as far as I can assume, it basically kind of wound up bonding itself to the tree and began consuming its memories, which is obviously something that the tree would not want. Like I said, the way this is written strongly implies that as Nier damages the shade, he also damages the tree, which may be a result of the bonding. The point is that this shade is not actually an aspect of the tree. What I can guess at is that when they broke up the keystone into the Shadow Lord's castle, they basically gave one to this little shade and then they shoved it in the tree for safekeeping. And then it began eating at the memories, which was not an ideal situation. Definitely not an ideal situation. Oh, Nier. Goes through the entire game and doesn't pick up on any of this. That's why I like him. And not that he's ignorant of the situation. I mean, plenty of protagonists wind up being ignorant of the situation until they're explicitly told. It's that he goes through this with a kind of innocent ignorance, and then it becomes kind of an angry ignorance, and then he just ignores all of the evidence presented to him because he has so much tunnel vision trying to find Yona, and it's not a good thing. The game doesn't pretend it's a good thing. Whenever Nier kind of goes off on one of his fits of anger, his associates in the room generally look at him kind of sideways and worry about his health. So, I mean, in comparison to a lot of RPGs where this kind of willful ignorance of the enemy is not perceived as a flaw, here it is definitely a bad thing. Speaking of bad, terrible things, I don't believe this is necessarily true, or at least not entirely true. It's not officially true, at least. But it seems to me that the story about the female warrior, in addition to just being about Legion, is also in its way about Auroch, a reference to Auroch from Drakengard. Her story was that she and all of her people, basically, went to fight the Empire, and everybody except for Auroch was slaughtered. Auroch only survived because she made one of those Drakengard soul pacts with Undine and Salamander, I believe. And the pact price for her was her womb. And she kind of happened to be pregnant at the time, so it also stole her child. And obviously any more future children that she would have. And, this made her go insane, and she decided the best way to make up for this loss was to eat babies. Drakengard. Again, I'm not 100% certain that that female warrior story is actually supposed to reference her, but at least aspects of it kind of remind me of Oric's story. You know, the dozens of warriors, everybody died. Something about an ephemeral child. Crazy lady. And we're back. We're back, and Weiss gets rather self-referential. It's like he knows about New Game Plus. So, for the moment, that's about it for the tree. There's a little bit more to it, a little bit more that's very vital to something that comes up much, much later, so we'll address that when it happens. For now, we're out of here. We're done with the Forest of Myth, and we're off to the junk heap. We can finally find out what is the deal with that Shade and his robot. Hey, apropos of nothing, but you ever seen The Iron Giant?